And welcome to episode 15, Birds in the Rain, part of John's eclectic storytime adventures. John awoke to the gentle percussion of rain on his cabin's tin roof, a soft rhythmic tapping that filled the stillness with calm. Outside the small window beside his bed, a silvery morning light filtered through the clouds, lending the world a muted glow, like a watercolor painting not yet dry. He lay still for a moment, listening to the sound of the earth breathing through the drizzle. The woods beyond his cabin shimmered with wet bark and mist. He had planned to head out early to the local nature preserve to photograph birds, but with the rain falling, he let himself move slowly, savoring the rare gift of a quiet, unrushed morning. He lay still a moment, listening to the sound of the earth breathing through the drizzle. The woods beyond his cabin shimmered with wet bark and mist. He had planned to head out early to the local nature preserve to photograph birds, but with the rain falling, he let himself move slowly, savoring the rare gift of a quiet, unrushed morning. From the tree outside his cabin, a familiar figure waited for him. It was Herreit. She was a mourning dove, or as John liked to call her, a love dove, and he had nicknamed her months ago when he first noticing her frequently the same limb on the eastern side of the cabin. She was perched there again now, looking thoroughly sodden, her feathers puffed up against the wet, yet still managing an air of quiet grace. She blinked once, slowly, then gave her wings a slight shake, flinging droplets into the gray air. John reached for his camera and tiptoed to the front porch. The rain, though steady, was thin and warm, more a curtain than a storm. Through the lens, Herreit looked almost regal, her eyes dark and soft, her head cocked as if posing. Click. He adjusted the focus, letting the background melt into a blur of gray-green woods, Herreit remaining sharp and solemn in the center. Click, click. Her feathers, slicked and heavy from the rain, clung to her frame in delicate detail, the way the water glistened along the curve of her wing. John knew that this would be one of those quiet photos that only revealed its beauty when seen slowly, without distraction. As the drizzle softened further, he walked into the backyard. A half-moon-shaped clearing opened behind the cabin, ringed by dogwoods and oaks. With the earth softened by rain, the colors were richer. Darker bark, brighter moss. Even the red of a few lingering cardinal feathers stood out against the wet green. He reached into a wooden pail near the porch and scattered birdseed across the small patch of grass and under the feeder. Almost immediately, he saw movement among the branches. Herreit had followed, along with a flurry of chirps that signaled the return of the usual suspects. House finches. A pair of them landed low, tiny heads bobbing with cheerful insistence. But then something unexpected, a flash of scarlet. John froze. Perched on a low-hanging branch just to the right was a male cardinal, radiant even in the dull light, his feathers a different blaze of color against the gray sky. Next to him, a female, her plumage more muted, with soft reds and browns, but no less striking. They did not seem spooked, just cautious. John raised the camera slowly. The pair sat close, facing slightly outward, sentinels watching the yard. Click. Then another surprise. They fluttered towards the front of the cabin, disappearing from sight. Curious, John followed. When he rounded the corner, he stopped, stunned. There, in a dense thicket near the porch steps, the cardinals had a nest. Inside, a baby, a small, awkward tuft of feathers, peeped from within the twigs. The parents returned, one after the other, feeding the chick and watching the area for threats. John did not take pictures of that moment. Some things he knew deserved quiet respect. He simply stood, watching, breath held, before slipping back into the house. By then, the rain had stopped. The sun was beginning to stretch through the clouds. Beams of warm gold filtered through the trees, steaming the mist from the grass. The feeder in the backyard transformed in minutes into a living scene. Chickadees, sparrows, nuthatchers, and more finches darted in from every direction. Wings fluttered like paper in the breeze, and the chatter of birds filled the woods with music. John took photos from the porch for a while, marveling at the way each bird seemed to know when it was their turn. One by one, they came and went, never crashing, never crowding. He took close-ups of seed-cracked beaks and wings mid-flap, backlit by the sun's new glow. But the preserve was still calling. He packed his gear into the back of his old hatchback and made his way down the winding back road, the tires sending little fans of water up from the damp gravel. The nature preserve entrance was quiet, save for the occasional chirp echoing across the wet tree line. Puddles pooled along the dark path, and shifts of sunlight cut through the tall pines, spotlighting patches of moss and early wildflowers. Above, the first birds he noticed were buzzards, large and graceful despite their size, circling high on unseen thermals. They soared in wide arcs, slow and deliberate, their wings stretched like sails. John took a few long-range photos, capturing the symmetry of their flight, then wandered deeper into the trail, past marshy edges, and over narrow boardwalks. Near one trail bend, a sudden movement caught his eye. A tiny bird, likely a warbler or a titmouse, hopped from a high branch and dropped, quite literally, down to a lower branch, wings half open, gliding more than flying. It was a quick, gravity-defying moment, almost cartoonish in its suddenness. Click. He reviewed the shot. The bird was mid-descent, wings splayed, body almost vertical. Perfect. He stayed out there longer than he planned, wandering the trails, letting the wet quiet of the preserve settle into his bones. It wasn't dramatic, this place, not full of large predators or big game, but there was something sacred about the subtleties. A leaf trembling from a breeze, a frog singing from deep in the grass, the way the light shifted as the sun moved higher. Just as he turned his head to the car, he heard a distant, rising whoosh overhead. He looked up. A flock of seabirds, gulls by the look of them, were flying in tight formation, moving inland, likely searching for new feeding grounds after the rain. They twisted in the air like a ribbon, their formation tight, their motion seamless. John lifted his camera for one last shot. Click. One wide frame, the birds stretched across the sky, clouds and sunlight painting a patchwork behind them. He lingered for a moment after they disappeared. The world had changed since the morning. The rain gone, the earth revived, the skies alive. Driving back towards the cabin, John replayed the day in his mind. Not dramatic, not loud, but layered with moments that reminded him why he took up photography in the first place: to see, to wait, to witness. Back home, Herreit was gone from her perch, but the bird seeds were nearly eaten. Somewhere nearby, the baby cardinal was likely chirping again. John sat on the porch, camera in his lap, memory cards full. A small moment, a featherlight morning, but a story worth telling, one picture at a time. And we hope you enjoyed this episode 15, Birds in the Rain. Please join us next time for the Carnival, episode 16. Thank you. And these images being presented now document that these are not AI generated images. These are several pictures used throughout this presentation. It has the camera name, the model, the date, who took the pictures, and the lens. Thank you. And once again, thank you for watching episode 14, Birds in the Rain. If you enjoyed this presentation, please consider subscribing and hit that like button. Thank you.